Far away from the modern world, beyond the reach of satellites and maps that ordinary travelers consult, lies an island that has resisted the encroachment of human civilization for centuries. Known to the world as North Sentinel Island, this tiny speck of land in the Bay of Bengal is shrouded in mystery, danger, and stories that seem almost too incredible to be true. From the air, the island is a vision of wild, unbroken beauty. Thick emerald canopies of jungle stretch from one rocky coast to another, waves crash violently against jagged cliffs, and the horizon is dominated by nothing but the endless expanse of the ocean. To the casual observer, it appears untouched, serene even, but those who know the history understand the peril hidden beneath this beauty. For decades, explorers, anthropologists, and curious travelers have attempted to approach this island, only to be met with hostility, fierce resistance, and sometimes even death. The island is home to the Sentinelese, one of the last uncontacted tribes on Earth. The Sentinelese have lived here for thousands of years, completely isolated from the rest of human society, following the ways of their ancestors with remarkable resilience and determination. Unlike other indigenous groups around the world who have been gradually influenced by outsiders, the Sentinelese have repelled contact aggressively. Their weapons, bows, arrows, and spears, remain primitive by modern standards, yet in the hands of those who know the terrain and the people, they are lethal. Every attempt to land on the island, even by researchers and government-sanctioned expeditions, has been met with a coordinated and almost preternatural response, arrows flying from the dense jungle, warning fires along the cliffs, and signals that communicate one unambiguous message: outsiders are not welcome. Despite being a relatively small landmass, the island has become a symbol of ultimate isolation, a place that humans cannot claim or dominate. Governments have learned, sometimes tragically, that even modern military equipment and boats cannot override the territorial instincts of the Sentinelese. Over the past century, stories have emerged of missionaries, fishermen, and explorers who have approached too closely, and the consequences have been dire. Small boats have been capsized, intruders driven back by volleys of arrows, and in extreme cases, outsiders never returned. For many, these stories blur the line between reality and legend, creating a sense of awe and fear around the island. North Sentinel Island is more than just a geographic location, it is a living testament to humanity's respect for untouched civilizations, a reminder that even in a world mapped by satellites and drones, there remain places that are wholly unknown, fiercely independent, and perilously forbidden. The island's isolation is enforced not by walls or fences, but by nature itself. Sharp coral reefs surround the coast, violent tides make landing nearly impossible, and the jungle conceals every inch of land from prying eyes. Combined with the Sentinelese protective instincts, the island forms a natural and human barrier that has remained unbroken for centuries. The beauty and danger of this place have inspired countless documentaries, research papers, and speculative accounts, but very few people ever get to witness it firsthand. Even drone and satellite imagery, which reveal patterns of movement and forest canopy, offer only partial glimpses of the real life within the jungle. In short, the island is a paradox, an alluring paradise for some, a deadly forbidden zone for others, and a mystery for all who attempt to understand it. Those who study the island describe a place where time seems to stand still, where human intervention has had no effect, and where the modern world remains a distant echo. Every rustle of leaves, every wave crashing against the jagged rocks, every shadow glimpsed through the canopy holds the possibility of discovery or danger. For decades, the Sentinelese have maintained their way of life untouched by outside influence, and their defiance has turned a small island into one of the most dangerous and mysterious places on Earth, a place where curiosity alone is not enough to survive. Over the decades, North Sentinel Island has attracted a handful of explorers, anthropologists, and adventurers, each drawn by the promise of witnessing one of the last untouched human civilizations on the planet. Yet, for everyone who has approached the island, the reality is far more terrifying than any legend. Attempts to make contact, often under the guise of humanitarian aid or scientific study, have ended with violence, capsized boats, or frantic retreats under a hail of arrows. In the 19th century, British colonial records describe encounters with the Sentinelese in which they fired arrows from the dense jungle as boats tried to land, driving intruders back into the rough waters surrounding the island. Despite decades of technological advancement, nothing has changed this dynamic. Modern attempts using speedboats, helicopters, and even carefully controlled drone surveillance have failed to pierce the island's impenetrable veil. The Sentinelese, with their intimate knowledge of the land and sea, patrol their territory with uncanny precision. From vantage points hidden deep in the forest, they can spot intruders from a distance, signaling to each other in ways that remain a mystery to outsiders. For researchers attempting to study the island, the challenge is not just physical, but psychological, the tension of entering a forbidden space, the knowledge that a single mistake could be fatal, and the constant awareness that this is a society that will not tolerate intrusion. Over time, several well-documented attempts ended tragically. Fishermen who strayed too close were met with sudden volleys of arrows. In some instances, entire crews were forced to abandon their boats in panic as waves slammed them against jagged rocks. Even unmanned drones, which provide a layer of safety, revealed glimpses of figures moving quickly through the canopy, armed and vigilant, enforcing a perimeter invisible to the outside world. The island's small size, just under 60 square kilometers, belies the level of danger. Every inch of its forest is a fortress, every cliff a lookout point. Attempts to land are further complicated by the natural defenses. Coral reefs surround the shore, shallow waters and sharp rocks threaten to tear the hulls of even the sturdiest vessels, and the unpredictable currents of the Bay of Bengal can trap the unwary in hours-long struggles against the ocean. Beyond the physical hazards, the psychological tension is intense. Observers from afar often describe a feeling of dread when attempting to approach, an almost palpable sense that the island itself is alive, guarding its inhabitants from the modern world. This mix of natural barriers and human vigilance has rendered North Sentinel Island nearly inviolable. In recent decades, the Indian government has taken a strict stance, enforcing a 5-kilometer no-approach zone to protect both outsiders and the Sentinelese. But even with legal protections, the lure of the forbidden continues to draw curiosity. Stories of attempted contact, some carried out by well-intentioned anthropologists, others by thrill-seekers, underscore the lethal combination of isolation, tribal defense, and natural peril. The island has become a case study in the ethics of contact. How much should the modern world intervene, and at what cost? From their vantage points within the jungle, they observe the ocean, the skies, and any signs of intrusion with an acute awareness honed over generations. Every arrow loosed in defense of their territory, every signal sent across the canopy, every movement of a tribal figure in the dense foliage, is not mere reaction, it is a calculated assertion of autonomy, a defense of culture, and a reinforcement of their ancient laws. As researchers and observers attempt to piece together the lives of these people from a distance, the island challenges the very concept of observation itself. One begins to understand that this is a place where the act of looking, of attempting to comprehend, is itself laden with risk. Satellite imagery and aerial drones provide tantalizing glimpses, patterns of huts, small clearings in the jungle, trails worn into the forest floor, but they offer only fragments of a life lived entirely on its own terms. The island guards its secrets fiercely, allowing only fleeting insights while keeping the full story shrouded in the eternal mystery of isolation. There is an almost poetic irony in the fact that in a world dominated by technology, instant communication, and global mapping, there exists a space wholly off-limits, beyond GPS accuracy, beyond human intervention, and impervious to curiosity. Here, time has a different meaning. The past, present, and future of the Sentinelese culture converge in a continuous, unbroken thread that has survived epidemics, climate change, and centuries of outsiders' fascination. The island itself seems to pulse with life, a living organism, silent yet vigilant, where every tree, every rock, every wave crashing against its cliffs plays a role in shielding its inhabitants. Philosophically, North Sentinel Island forces the modern viewer to question notions of progress, morality, and human ambition. It asks. From their vantage points within the jungle, they observe the ocean, the skies, and any signs of intrusion with an acute awareness honed over generations. Every arrow loosed in defense of their territory, every signal sent across the canopy, every movement of a tribal figure in the dense foliage, is not mere reaction, it is a calculated assertion of autonomy, a defense of culture, and a reinforcement of their ancient laws. As researchers and observers attempt to piece together the lives of these people from a distance, the island challenges the very concept of observation itself. One begins to understand that this is a place where the act of looking, of attempting to comprehend, is itself laden with risk. Satellite imagery and aerial drones provide tantalizing glimpses, patterns of huts, small clearings in the jungle, trails worn into the forest floor, but they offer only fragments of a life lived entirely on its own terms. The island guards its secrets fiercely, allowing only fleeting insights while keeping the full story shrouded in the eternal mystery of isolation. There is an almost poetic irony in the fact that in a world dominated by technology, instant communication, and global mapping, there exists a space wholly off-limits, beyond GPS accuracy, beyond human intervention, and impervious to curiosity. Here, time has a different meaning. The past, present, and future of the Sentinelese culture converge in a continuous, unbroken thread that has survived epidemics, climate change, and centuries of outsiders' fascination. The island itself seems to pulse with life, a living organism, silent yet vigilant, where every tree, every rock, every wave crashing against its cliffs plays a role in shielding its inhabitants. Philosophically, North Sentinel Island forces the modern viewer to question notions of progress, morality, and human ambition. It asks, is the greatest achievement of civilization the ability to dominate, map, and control, or is it the recognition that some realms are untouchable, some societies deserve the right to exist without interference? Each arrow fired at intruders, each warning signal along the cliffs, each failed attempt to land or observe, is not just a moment of conflict, it is a profound assertion of freedom, a living example of the cost of intrusion. For those watching from afar, there is both awe and unease. Awe at the Sentinelese steadfast preservation of their world, and unease because the island reminds us that human curiosity is not without limits. North Sentinel Island stands as a rare intersection of danger, beauty, and mystery, a place that invites the mind to wander but demands respect, where fascination is inseparable from fear, and where understanding is forever just beyond reach. As night falls, the dense canopy of the jungle absorbs the last light, turning the island into a silhouette against the vast black ocean. The sounds of waves, the whisper of wind through the trees, and the distant calls of birds form a symphony of isolation, reinforcing the inescapable truth: this is a land that refuses to be tamed. And perhaps that is its greatest lesson. In a world where humans seek to explore, document, and consume every corner of the planet, there remain places that resist, that preserve their integrity and culture, that stand as monuments to human endurance without compromise. The Sentinelese, in their quiet, unyielding way, have created a civilization that is both fragile and indomitable, and North Sentinel Island is their fortress, their home, and their statement to the world. For viewers, the island becomes more than a forbidden location, it becomes a reflection of our own limits. A mirror showing how much of the world, and how much of life itself, remains beyond our grasp. By respecting its boundaries, we honor the last of the uncontacted tribes, the enduring mysteries of Earth, and the timeless beauty of a place that will forever remain untouchable, untamed, and profoundly dangerous.